Thank you, Lucy. So I've got Nick, who's hopefully with us. So if you are, Nick, let me know.
I'm here somewhere, yeah.
No worries, no, that's fine. I was just going to say, Nick, so Nick, I'll leave you to introduce yourself, but Nick has very kindly said he'll come along as a massive supporter and advocate of the topic that we're talking about in mental health and suicide. So I won't say too much more because I don't want to steal any of your thunder, Nick. So I'm going to hand over to you to share your thoughts about the importance of today. Over to you.
Hopefully you can hear me. Thanks, Sean. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can. Yeah, we can do, Nick. Yeah.
I've just flipped over from a mobile phone connection to a Wi-Fi connection, so it might have glitched a bit. That was all. Hi everyone. I haven't prepared a massive speech here. I'm just kind of saying what I think. So hopefully that's okay. And thank you for coming on to the call, and thank you to obviously Lucy and Sean. Sean, I'm going to kind of follow the thread of the bullet points in the invite, if that's all right. So if you look at misconceptions about mental health, right, if I start with that straight away, I don't often talk about mental health. I talk about mental wellness. So I think it's just a positive upside of the other, if you like. And I'm not always mentally well, and I'm not always mentally unwell. It's a spectrum. There are some times where I'm less well and I think I've got to do something to myself to fix myself, and there are some times where I'm well, and it's probably because I've done something that makes me well. So I guess for me, it's quite a good tip, I think, is that certainly when I was younger, you're kind of growing up and there were things that I used to fear. Then do you think, oh, I'm mentally unwell? And you're almost kind of pigeonholed into a binary, I'm strange, I'm ill, or, is it just me? And of course, none of those are true. It's just what you think. So for me, early on, it was quite good to kind of reframe it all into mental wellness, and then think about what makes you mentally healthy and mentally less healthy. Incidentally, I'm not a perfect human being, but I have experimented with all sorts of things that make me well and less well. So I'm not going to preach about what you should and shouldn't do. I'm just saying what for me has worked or sometimes hasn't worked. So I guess in terms of misconceptions, my first observation about myself is that early or younger Nick, the fear thing, am I strange? I'm going through a difficult time. Is it just me? All of that is totally natural. Everyone does it. And the more I speak to people about it, the more, and you never really know what kind of challenges or things are going through people's minds, either at home or at work. There will be something with everyone, I am sure. Not that I'm necessarily kind of asking for information, but it's just a thought. And in that respect, when you go about your dealings at work, we've got challenges. We have to deliver a complex infrastructure and a railway service, and people get upset if trains are late and all that sort of stuff. And it is challenging, and it's challenging often. But there's always a time and a space to listen and be kind, I think. Even if you're in a challenging conversation, you can be kind about that, and you can be, you can be non-judgmental, and you can be courteous, and you can coach, mentor, support, develop, and create good things from difficult situations, I think, anyway. So in terms of wellness, mental wellness, I know when I'm less well, it's generally because I've not had enough sleep. It's generally because I haven't done enough exercise. It's generally, these are all generalisms, by the way, because I haven't been out in nature for a while. It might have been because I've had a drink and I've got a hangover, and I probably overcooked it. And certainly younger Nick was a bit like that, certainly on days where he wasn't at work and he was out with friends. It may be because I haven't seen friends for a while. There's a whole load of things that make me mentally less well. And I think, right, acknowledge it. That's okay. Don't punish yourself, but then go and do something about it. And that's what I do. So things like sleep, although today's not a very good example of it because I was on nights. I was working in the Severn Tunnel on Saturday night, but I had a good day of rest yesterday. I'm actually out on night shift tonight, and I'm taking today as rest, but I thought this call was too important not to be on it. So I will be asleep after lunch. But also food, drinking loads of water is another one. If you get dehydrated. So be kind to yourself, but acknowledge when, don't punish yourself, but acknowledge, think, what am I feeling right now? What could have caused that? What can I do about it? Also, with something for me was that was a complete revelation. I don't know why it's a revelation, but it was at the time, but it isn't now. Is I've got a mindset that in chaos is opportunity. And what do I mean by that? That's not to demean or to belittle difficult and serious situations, but there will be opportunities in every single one of them. You don't know what they are, and if you don't look for them, you'll never know what they were. But if you think, right, okay, this is difficult, how might I approach this? How might I go and make things better? It will be there. So I would invite everyone to think about how could you reframe a difficult situation and think, okay, it's difficult. What might I do then to make, what opportunities lie here? They will always be there. And certainly in some of the most difficult times I've encountered, and I've lost my parents when I was young. I've brought up 3 kids. I've worked loads of nights. Just a normal life, really. And it is. And you face difficult times and difficult things. But I do look for chaos. Sorry, I look for opportunity in chaos. So in hard times, look for the good things, and they are definitely there. Another thing, just a little tip from me anyway, that I've learned, and I'm not an expert in any of this, by the way, is gratitude. Be grateful for what you have. Count your blessings, literally count them. And when I think about how that's worked for me, my wife's best friend died a couple of years ago, and there was a lot of sad people around because Samantha was a lovely person, but I wasn't sad. I was grateful that I had Sam and I knew Sam. So for me, I don't know, it kind of gave me a positive spin, if you like, on a very difficult situation. I miss Sam. My wife really misses Sam. But when I think about all of the times, imagine if I hadn't met Sam. And I think, imagine if I hadn't met her. But so for me, I frame quite a lot of things in being grateful, just small things. And that's a positive habit, I'd suggest. I would imagine there are a lot of people that kind of skate through life and don't take notice of what's going on. Take a bit of time and be conscious and be grateful for the little things that happen, because they're always there. It's whether you choose to see them or acknowledge them again. So that's just bits from myself there. And incidentally, I'm an unfinished individual, as in I keep kind of learning as I go, and sometimes I get it right and sometimes I get it wrong. But rest assured, it's always all right. So I'm just going to move on then, if that's right, Sean. So certainly within the railway industry, I think everyone knows why it's so important to prevent suicide. I've been an operational responder myself. It is horrendous. I cannot, and I will not go into it, but when you think about, if somebody, going back to what I just said a minute ago, if somebody had the opportunity to reframe how they were thinking, to take on those kind of, okay, my chips are down, where's the good in this? Or I'm tired, or things are difficult, what can I do to make myself more well? That irreversible action could have been and should have been prevented. And that's genuinely how I think. I think to myself, what more can we do to kind of help people reframe how they're thinking and see the good in a bad situation or difficult situation. And certainly, I think about the families. The person may be going through a crisis, but I think to myself, the families, it's such a return, if you like, on time investment to spend time like this to prevent those irreversible things happening, because the ripple effect and the echoes go on for years and years and years, and they are hugely, hugely profound. So that's why, for me, it's such an important thing to invest time, not only in yourself, but also if you look at the mental health first aiders, I would say probably 10 years ago now, I launched a mental health first aid campaign in what was then infrastructure projects, the Track Renewals divisions. When I became the maintenance boss in Western, we did the same, and Wales has got the same, and now we're kind of building a railway family community up, and I think that's wonderful. But I do think it's so important. So certainly from a railway industry point of view, there's a lot of friends and colleagues out there who will give you the time and space to listen, and to learn and all those sorts of support's another big one, isn't it? So they will have experience they can share in terms of why this is so important. They'll have ears, and they'll give you a good listening to if you're having one of those kind of days. So the railway's a big family, so leverage it, and don't be shy, I would say. I've genuinely, when I think about it, I've got friends in the industry. I've been here quite a long time, but I've got really good friends at work. Many really good friends that I've known for such a long time. In GWR, in fact, I was a railway apprentice on the Western Route from school. So there are people in GWR, people in the train operating companies, people in both Network Rail, both routes, Western and Wales, that I've known for nearly 35 years. And I couldn't imagine, no, I can't remember not knowing them. But the reason why I say that to not why it's important, there are people there that I trust massively. And if I'm having a bad day, and they do happen, I can go and have a chat without fear of being judged or criticised or any of those kind of things. So for me, the railway industry is a huge family, and one that helps in so many different ways. I was just going to share an example of something we did recently in Wales and Borders. Work is a busy old place, isn't it? There's always a railway, there's always a timetable, and it just keeps turning and turning every single day. And sometimes, I think it's important to get away from your desk. How many emails you get in every single day, and sometimes it's important to go and kind of take stock. And we in Wales and Borders, and we were joined by GWR, by DB Cargo, Transport for Wales, and others. We walked over a period of 28 days from North Wales to South Wales. And when I talked about doing it, I think there were certainly a few people thought maybe I'd lost my mind, but on the contrary, I hadn't lost my mind. I was going to find it, and we hatched a plan. Teams came together. Chaos theory at work, by the way, because you never have selected those teams before, and they just kind of came together. And day by day, week by week, we walked from North Wales to South Wales. There was some. I mean, for any of you who've seen the photographs, or for those of you who haven't, there are some wonderful photographs of people out doing different things that you would normally see, in a work context doing different things. And the feedback I've had is, there are some people now that are planning to walk more of the paths, because we did it in on the Offa's Dyke path. They're going to go back and do more, and they'd forgotten how important it is to take time out. And they'd also learned that there are loads of more good people in the railway, and they've created friendships, which is great. One of the key things for me, though, is very kind people donated £10,000 towards that effort. And what we've been able to do, there are 10 Samaritans offices in Wales, and we've given them £1,000 each. Now, it's quite a lot of money. Everything's relative, but to all of those offices, £1,000 is the electric bills paid, it's the kettle, it's new furniture for volunteers that use the phones. So that money will go an extraordinarily long way. So it was really nice to meet the Samaritans a couple of weeks ago and give them the money, but more so to understand what's going to happen to it. So I feel comforted, and I feel again grateful to everyone that gave the money, that turned up on the walks, put up with me talking about it, but we were able to give that money to the Samaritans. About 400 people take their lives every year in Wales. You can see the stats. I won't go into it nationally. And you also, when you think about the railway side of things, how many people take their lives on the railway, the thing that bears on me heavy as well is the amount of young men. That's not to say that what young women don't, but when you look at the statistics and the proportions, myself growing up, and I go back to where I started about this kind of fear, young Nick fearing things, not knowing if he's all right or not being able to kind of put perspective to everything. And you see loads of people that could have been that young Nick, but they didn't necessarily get the opportunity to kind of reframe their thinking, and that's why all this is so important for me. So hopefully that's okay, Sian.
Yeah, no, that's wonderful. Thank you, Nick.